Hey guys, welcome back to the tutorial for iOS, and today I'm going to talk about more about arrays. So go ahead, and last time we talked about list, and I wanted to show you that we can initialize a list by putting the data type in it and enclosing with parentheses open. This is how you initialize a list to an empty, because now the list is empty. If I were to print the list, it won't have anything in it. So if I go to print it, I need to of course call start game. It's empty. See, it's an empty list. So now I want to fill the list. I'm gonna go ahead and say, remember we had the tic-tac-toe, so list append, and I'm gonna append so I can go ahead and say list.append. So what it does is appends it at the end of the list. So I'm going to append an X, and then I'm going to append an O, and I'm going to append an X again, right? So now what's going to happen to my list is if I print it again, so it says cannot use mutating on immutable list. So remember how I said we have constants? I have an empty list, but I can't change it, so I need to make this a var. So now it's gonna the warning is gonna go away. Actually, that was an error. That was red. It's an error. So now if I print this, so it's actually XOX. You can see it here. You can see the XOXO. So I can actually just print my list here. Print list, and it's gonna print that to the console. XOXO. Okay, so if I wanted to create a tic-tac-toe game, I probably need two arrays, right? An array within an array. Because it would have it would be like this. So it's a row and column, and then I have to check the logic and always make sure that if the x is diagonal, or if the x is vertical or horizontal, then the player wins. Or if it's an O, so you have to kind of do an algorithm. This is where algorithm comes in, and so I want you to do that as a homework. So now you have everything that you need in order to create a list. So what you can do with the list also, you can list or remove. You can remove it at the index. So one thing about the list I didn't discuss is they're zero based. So let's say you have a list, and I have numbers in my list. So this number at this is an index of an array, as starts at 0. So at the index of 0, so if I were print the index of 0, it says list. So the way I print the index is I open it up with a bracket open and then bracket close, and I say index, and I want to index the 0. And if I print that, it's gonna say 3. Because it's at 0 index. It starts at 0, so it's like this. It's a 0 index is 3, and then 1 index is 2, and then 2 index, and then 3 index. So starts at 0, so you count from 0, not 1. But if I were to print the count of how many items are in the list, then it would be 4. It's a list that count. So yeah, doesn't like my index here. Okay, just do this, and then you can see what's going on. Okay. So now I have list that count is 4. It's 4 in the list, but I have my index starts at 0 and goes to 3. So I can do one thing with for loops now. I can go for loop from so I have a list now. So if I wanted to for loop the whole list and say something that check to see a number exists in the list, I can say just for items in a list if list 0 is equal to 3, then go ahead and print found the item. So actually I don't want the 0, but I want to go in and look for like 2. But if it doesn't, otherwise, right? So we don't need to put else because we can just say if, otherwise it's gonna be out. So print item not found. Item not. So if the list is so 0, 1, 2 is 3, found item, otherwise item not found. So it's gonna say, it's gonna play this game. Item not found, item not found. So what it's doing is it's looping this as many times as the list is. So it's how many times is the list? 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? And each time it's checking to see if list 2 is, so 0, 1, 2 is 2, but it never is. But if I say list 2 is 2, then it's gonna say found the item and break out of the loop. Found the item and item not found. Why is it saying that? Because what it's doing is it comes to the for loop and says, okay, if list 2 equals 2, it is, right? It found the item, but then it exits this if statement once it's done and it prints this, and then it goes back because there's more items because this for loop is a continuous loop. So it loops as long as the items is equal to the list count. But you can also do another thing with for loops is you can actually count from it. So I say index from 0 to, so this is a range, to 10. I'm looping it 10 times. So I'm going to print 10 times. So if I say print me, so you're printing. So if I go and comment this, we're going to learn about comments. So if you press the command and hold down the question mark, you can comment. In, you have to say in. So let's go ahead and say, so it's counting 10 times. It's printing 10 times me. Because now you're doing from a range from 0 to 10. But if you want it to 0 to 9, you should say less than 10, so it goes 0 to 9. So 9 times. So if I count it, it goes 1, 2, 3. Let's count it again. So 1, 2, I can't count it like that, so it's best to count like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 10. So since it starts at 0 to 10, 0 to 10, that's why. So 0 to 10, it starts at 0 index and it goes to 10, so it's actually 10 of them. But it's less than 10 because it's actually 11. Why is it 11? It starts at 0. So I need to say 9 if I wanted to go through. So since we started 0, so you want it from 1 to 10, then it's going to be 9 of them. So if I go ahead and run that again, so you have 9. So if I count them up, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See? Because I started at 1, didn't start at 0 index. So another thing you can do with for loops is you can do for list for items in list dot enumerated. So what you're doing, you're actually getting the index IDX and the item in the list, so you can print the index and the item. So now you can print both item and the index. So if I press start game, so it says 0, 3, 1, 2. So why it's doing, so I can say the index is 0 is 2, 3, and then index of 1 is 2, index of 2 is 2, and index 2 is 2, and 3 is 2. So that's what it's doing. So I can actually concatenate this. Print index is, remember we discussed this last time, and item is item. So a review, so the concatenation is when you glue another data type to another data type. So you're gluing this to the string. So you're gluing a variable type of what is the index. Index is type of int, and the item is type of array. So it says index is 0, item is 3. So index is 0, item is 3, index is 1, item is 2, index is 2, item is 2, index is 3, item is 2. So that's what this enumerated allows you to do. It allows you to have both index and item. And with list you can also you can do list remove all. You can remove everything from the list. You can append to the list. You can remove at, so you can remove at an index, and then you can reverse. There's so many different things you can do. You can actually look up, there's a documentation. I would suggest you start looking at documentation for Apple. So if you go to developer.apple.com and you go to the support, I'm sorry, not support, you go to develop, and there's documentation here that you can actually look at basically everything about Swift type. So let's say you wanted let's go, let's see, let me show you. A good way to also do documentation is what you can do is this. And you can actually click on the, see that right here, list. It says it's but if I wanted to this collection type, search documentation, you can do search documentation, and then comes here and say, okay, I want to see there's a collection. Okay, collections, right? So we have collections. So you want to look at arrays. So creating array. So this is an array type, and then you have all kinds of documentation that you can do, because at append, right? Remove last. Remember we looked over this, and then you can print them. So you can do a lot of like, because you don't need to know all this stuff, right? You can just look it up in this documentation. So what you do again is you click, hold down control, not control, hold on option, and go on list and search documentation. Actually, you go on here and search documentation. So that kind of is the overview of a list. So next time we're going to discuss classes, and then we're going to also discuss optionals and guard statement, and then you'll be ready for the to-do list app. You'll be ready for the to-do list app. All right. Thank you.